In the materials released by Rockstar on May 6th, it was clear that in terms of details and graphics, GTA 6 will be polished at least as well as Johnny Bravo's hairstyle. However, graphics are one thing, but the second, maybe even more important, is the gameplay. What I'm getting at is the question of whether all these mechanics, which will surely blow us away with realism, which in theory will take immersion to a higher level, won't at the same time just become plain annoying and difficult. We see a certain danger in this, and today we'll tell you why. In previous episodes, we laughed about how protagonists in GTA could basically carry a whole military arsenal up their ass. Funny, yeah, but also convenient because everything was right there at hand. But times move on, realism in games grow, and already in Red Dead, you could see that the devs started having an itch for something better in this regard. After all, Arthur doesn't carry everything on him. Part of his equipment he just leaves in his satchel on the horse. In GTA 6, as leaks have also shown, the amount of weapons a character will be able to carry will also be limited. Except this time, the role of the horse will of course be taken over by cars, more precisely, trunks. This was also nicely shown in Rockstar's latest snippet, which was talked about a lot after the trailer's release. Everyone saw there a reference to that scene from Vice City, where Lance and Tommy prepare for the raid on Diaz's mansion. And while in Vice City that was only a cutscene that didn't have much gameplay significance, it only explained where the hell Tommy's M4 suddenly spawned from at the start of the mission, here in GTA 6, it'll most likely be a completely different story. The images showing Jason and Lucia reaching for weapons will probably become an integral part of the gameplay. Is that a good thing? Well, in theory, sure, but the question is how it's going to affect the game. On one hand, it'll definitely be a nice option. You'll have to use your head a bit before a job and think about how to equip your character to pull it off smoothly. On the other hand, GTA had us used to having the whole arsenal tucked behind our belt, ready to swap at any moment and adjust the piece to the situation. Honestly, I don't envy the devs here because this is not an easy piece of bread. Raising realism while at the same time not ruining the gameplay. Those are things that don't necessarily go hand in hand. And I feel like the subject of weapons falls exactly into that category. Finding a solution when it comes to weapons becomes even harder when we take into account the fact that enemy AI will be much more refined than before. The leaks have already shown that fights will become more demanding. Up to this point, the tendency when it comes to difficulty level was rather declining. Maybe in the older parts the enemies were even dumber than in 4 or 5. But in their stupidity, they still managed to get on our nerves plenty of times. And the further into the woods we went with each new GTA release, the more we associated NPCs with dumb puppets that, sure, try to do something, but are still easy to beat, and basically just targets to knock down on the way to the goal. Kind of like CS bots set on easy. But now, seriously, it looks like this tendency is about to change, big time. In the GTA 6 leaks, the analyzing crew noticed several behaviors of pets that seem like a solid upgrade compared to previous titles. For example, in 4 or 5, when we took cover, or when our enemies did, there were only 2 modes, crouch mode for low objects and standing mode for taller objects, or walls. Often it happened that a given object didn't quite fit either animation. As a result, such an NPC became an easy target. Maybe their arm was sticking out, or their leg, or even their head, which of course ended with an easy kill. In GTA 6, however, it looks like pets will fully adjust their position to the object they're hiding behind. On top of that, NPCs will also more often decide during a shootout to stick out just their hand with the gun, so they don't become such an easy target to take down. So it looks like the enemies will finally become a real thinking threat. Add to that the lack of being able to shove a minigun up your ass and whip it out in every situation, and it seems that combat really is going to move up to a higher level. Among all this, there's also another interesting observation from the analysts, who reported that pets will also have the ability to fire shots while moving left and right, obviously to make aiming harder for us. And the same thing applies to melee combat, because the analysts concluded that the devs will implement a dual phase like grappling, during which you'll probably have to mash a button fast enough to break free. Who knows, maybe it will also be nicely calibrated with the opponent's build and advancement. You get the idea. The heavier the enemy, the faster you'll need to mash, and with some of those really athletic and strong rivals, no matter how much you mash, you just won't be able to break loose. We'll run into no less trouble when it comes to the cops. In GTA 4 and GTA 5, getting 5 stars was definitely no joke. You really had to sweat a bit to shake that kind of chase. In the 3D era games, in theory, it wasn't as annoying, but sometimes those uniformed dimwits could spawn right on your face, leading to ridiculous situations. But regardless of that, you always had pay and spray in your back pocket, which was a totally broken tool that let you drop the cops off your tail in the easiest way possible. In 6, on the other hand, every chase, every shootout supposedly won't just be some background annoyance or an easy way to mess around, but rather a damn tough challenge and a serious obstacle on the way to finishing your current objective. In the heist footage from the leak, you can see that in GTA 6 there will be a witness system where people can call the cops on you, and on top of that, this time the police themselves will actually be able to properly gather information about us. For example, they'll remember our car, which technically was already a thing up to now, but this time they'll do it much more intelligently. As we remember, up to now it worked like this. Cops remembered your ride, but once you lost the chase, after that the law didn't care about it at all. Here, there's a big chance that if the police, even after a long time, see you in the car that, say, was spotted at a crime scene, a chase will kick off again. Of course, nothing's certain here, but considering that on-screen we'll get info about whether our car has been remembered or not, it strongly suggests that this mechanic will be seriously upgraded compared to the previous game. By the way, I'm curious if some Mafia fan won't pop up in the comments saying he doesn't give a damn about these GTA 6 innovations, because cops remembering your car was already a thing Mafia 2 did back in 2010. And yeah, that's true, but still, we don't know exactly how this whole system will function in 6. Maybe it'll actually turn out to be some cool, ultra-advanced mechanic. Similar notifications also apply to composite sketches, so maybe after every job we'll need to change our look, or lay low for a while, just to avoid being spotted by the authorities. And this is basically supported by another fact, namely that during heists in the trailers or screenshots, the protagonists are always wearing masks, even if it's just some small convenience store. That shows in GTA 6 you'll really have to pay attention to maintaining your cover. You know, so you don't sell out your identity to the cops, because later your moves could, for example, get heavily restricted. Maybe even if you screw something up, it could have bigger consequences, like not being able to finish a mission in an easier way, or maybe even locking off some valuable content. For now, all we can do is speculate. So is this good for gameplay? One person will say yes, another will say no. On one hand, it'll probably cause quite a bit of frustration for many players at times. On the other hand, when you think about someone like Tony Cipriani, who goes out to kill Liberty City's mayor in his suit, with his face obviously exposed, doing it in front of like 10 witnesses, and then everyone in the city acts like nothing happened, so no one even chases Tony afterwards, well, that just makes your hair stand on end. Digging further into the police topic, they even found names of certain events called Cop Trap. From what they could gather from the leaks, it's about places or situations where you can get ambushed by cops. These cop traps are supposed to show up especially during so-called easy score events, meaning simple crimes like a quick robbery or theft. In these locations, you'll have to expect exactly that, a sudden surprise attack from the law. The CCTV system will also probably get expanded in this context. In GTA Online, it was there, but man, that was a total circus. Not only was the field of view of the cameras pretty lousy, but on top of that, we could easily deactivate them using a pretty shady method, by shooting those cameras with a taser. In the leaks, a couple of cameras were spotted, and honestly, it would be strange if the devs didn't sit down to upgrade this element. In Cyberpunk, the surveillance system works super well, but then again, that's an extremely digitalized world, so playing with a cyber deck in your head, you could easily hack those cameras. The only issue was noticing them in time. Here though, meaning in GTA 6, it'll be way harder. If this element gets improved, then not only will you have to avoid the cops, but also keep an eye on whether you're within the line of sight of some camera. It could be an interesting but very demanding system. Even stealth missions would level up big time, like sneaking into some building. You'd have to not only watch out for human threats, maneuvering between enemies, but also avoid being caught by Big Brother. After finishing every paragraph, I keep having this thought in my head, like, hey, seriously, these are gonna be cool things. But won't they demand too much from us, gameplay-wise? Won't they make the new GTA sometimes feel like some road through hell? What I'm getting at is, when you talk about all these systems and innovations, they don't really sound like something that lets you fire up the game in the evening for an hour or two to chill with one eye half closed, but more like some hardcore combat test for a NATO soldier. And even that might not be enough, because considering all the rich flora and fauna, alligators, snakes, or sharks, I wouldn't even be surprised if at times the new GTA turns into some messed up survival simulator. Of course, we're exaggerating this quite a bit here. The thing that keeps nagging at us is whether the devs will actually play all this off as well as they did in GTA 5, meaning stuff showing up on our screen that's realistic, but at the same time, not overly annoying. Especially since when you dig around into GTA 6, seriously, these smaller things you'll have to take care of in the game are popping out like rabbits from a magician's hat. And we still haven't even gotten any official gameplay material from Rockstar. Meanwhile, we already know the cops will work in a super advanced way. We already know outfits will get dirty and wear out. Meaning the times are gone when Claude could run through the whole story in one outfit, where the real miracle was that a swarm of flies wasn't circling around him, and somehow Maria was still able to tolerate the stench that must have been coming off him. We also know about Lucia, who will be under surveillance for some time, and will have to wear that whole ankle tracker thing, which will heavily limit our freedom. On top of that, she'll have to do some community service, and that, in turn, usually means double the restriction on your freedom. Now just imagine it. You come home from work, rough day, you just want to cruise around the map a bit, maybe do something fun in the game world, and it turns out, first, you can't go too far because of that bracelet, and second, even if you could, before you move anywhere, it just so happens that your community service shift pops up and you have to tick that off first. Already, those random ass phone calls in GTA Vice City could annoy the hell out of you since you couldn't hang up on the damn things, let alone something like this. And even after you get all that done, finish the community work, and now you'd like to grab some sweet ride and cruise at least around the local neighborhood, you still won't be able to because GTA 6 is going all in on a new vehicle theft system. Can you even picture the frustration when you spot some gorgeous car on the street that you're dying to test out, but nope, your current player level won't allow it? That's definitely not something GTA has ever made us deal with before. From the leaks, we know that in the game, we'll have access to items like a Slim Jim and an immobilizer bypass, tools specifically used for car theft. So it's possible that in GTA 6, the eponymous activity will be closer to GTA Chinatown Wars, where depending on how advanced the car's anti-theft system was, we had different mini-games allowing us to start the engine. And here's the question. Will the devs really go in the direction where the characters we play can just, right from the start, open every car with these gadgets? That's leaving aside the possibility of other systems known from modern times, like vehicle tracking and having to remove a GPS before selling the car on the black market. These kinds of mechanics could be multiplied endlessly. At first, your heart rejoices. It seems that in some ways, we're getting a life simulator in our hands. But on the other hand, the question is this really the kind of life simulator we expect from GTA? Let me know in the comments what you think. In the meantime, thanks to you all for today. Thanks for watching. I'm saying goodbye, take care, and see you next time. Bye.